Hello there and welcome to Upper Choslin Baptist Church's Advent Calendar for today. Now we've got a two-parter coming up, so we've got part 1 today and part 2 tomorrow. Tony Hopkins is sharing about a particular carol and how it strikes a memory. And the memory in itself reminds him and reassures him that that childlike quality that sometimes we feel we've lost is always there lurking underneath, especially around this time of the year. So don't forget to come back tomorrow for part 2. But for now, enjoy part 1 from Tony Hopkins. You were going to share with us a very special memory that you have of a particular carol, isn't that right?
Yes, I'm going to talk about my earliest memory of hearing and singing the Christmas carol. And I'd like to say something about why it's important to me, why it continues to be important. I've always been aware for most of my adult life that Christmas is full of surprises, and it continues to surprise me, which in itself is surprising, and why that is, and it is connected with that memory of this Christmas carol.
Okay. I think it's quite nice actually that as an adult you're still surprised by Christmas. I think that's lovely.
Yes, and there is a reason for it, I think, and that is bound up with that earliest memory. My understanding of Christmas goes right back to that. I was about 6 or 7 at the time, so it's been
it's quite a few years then.
Yes, and I think I'd like first of all to describe the kind of rhythm of my year, the pattern that's been established for most of my adult life, I suppose. It begins in August. My birthday was in August, so I think possibly it goes back to the time when if I didn't get a certain thing as a present for my birthday, they'd say, oh, well, you may have it for Christmas.
Oh, okay.
So Christmas starts to loom on the horizon as a little speck in the distance in August. But in adulthood, it doesn't sort of mean that much because the sun is out and the days are long and so on. But then in sometime in autumn, somebody goes early and starts putting lights in their garden. And then you find other lights in other gardens, and it starts to sort of move along a little bit, but it still means very little to me. And then after bonfire night, you'll find the adverts start. And again, I'm underwhelmed by that. I don't care what the jingles say. I'm not particularly moved by it. But gradually it sort of accelerates a little bit. People in the office start talking about what they're getting for so-and-so, than who they got in the Secret Santa. And then cards start to arrive, and we start thinking, oh, no, we haven't done anything at all. Where is our list?
That's your cue to write your cards, is it, when your first one arrives?
And our determination to be early this year, once again, has been missed. But I'm still not really in it. I find the shops start to buzz. You get the candles coming out, street lights. The council put their lights up, the trees in the public parks, etc. But I'm only sort of half on board with it. So you move along through this. It's something outside of me. Christmas is going on, and physically it's in your environment, but you're not part of it. So, and then all of a sudden something strikes. It's what I've called the heart's ambush. That first carol that you hear somehow makes you realise something that you thought had been buried and lost within you is still actually there. It comes out. And really, we're all still children. You get these layers of life that accumulate as you grow older. And something you think is lost is actually still there. It's just been pushed to one side. And that first carol triggers these feelings. And frequently I've thought back to that first day. It's a little school hall. I was about 6 or 7, and the carol that I can remember singing, there must have been other carols as well, but particularly it's called the Rocking Carol. And I don't know if it's sung much these days, but when I did some research on it, of course these days I would research it on Google.
Yes,
but then
of course,
it was just an experience.
Yeah.
I was stood in the hall, a group of school kids, holding a triangle, just tapping away at it, and the kids were singing, some of them were singing, and the song goes something like Little Jesus, gently sleep, do not stir, we will bring a coat of fur. we will rock you, rock you, rock you. So there's a cradle at the front, and you've got the nativity going on. All my schoolmates have got towels wrapped around them, etc., etc. But that moment, when I think about it, and the more I think about it, is as alive to me as last week.
Wow.
It's so vivid when you hear it. And I since researched the carol, and it's been criticised for various things, not least of which the final line, which is something like Darling, Darling, Little Man, which was then changed by the time I heard it, in 1959, to Son of God and Son of Man, which is much better.
Yes.
But at that time, all I knew, this was a song we sung. I sensed that Christmas was something people did together. There was a togetherness, and also that baby Jesus was somebody you brought things to. So that idea of giving a gift to the baby in a cradle has sort of again been with me all that time.
Don't forget, come back tomorrow for part 2 of what Tony has to share with us.